Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Be Extraordinary podcast. Wow, you were in for a treat today. I'm going to go ahead and say this and go on a limb. This might be my favorite episode we've ever recorded. You're going to hear a comeback story today from a significant tragedy and car accident on a bike to the fear of not being able to get back on a bike, to overcoming not only that personal fear, but rising to become one of the best essentially in the world with making the world championships for an Ironman. Her story and Juan's story is one of inspiration. It's one of resilience, and it's one of just this internal journey of a pursuit of excellence. So Rod and I were absolutely moved after this interview, and it is riddled with lessons that you can use along your journey. Hey guys, this is Brett Young, Taylor Young, and Rod Erb, and you're tuned in to the Be Extraordinary podcast with Erb and Young. Real conversations about business, leadership, and personal development. Good morning, gang.
Hey.
Morning.
How we doing?
Good morning.
So, man, we've got some cool guests in the podcast studio today. Thank you guys for being on. Man, what a cool story I know that we're going to get into today. A story about really a comeback and a story about doing what you love as a couple. You guys are the epitome of a power couple, and I've been enthralled with watching your story. Rod and Taylor and I have been enthralled with watching your story. I mean, some of the things that we teach in here are doing hard things. We were just talking off air about the 40 for 40 challenge, the Gavin Goggins, and, reminiscing on that. And so, but man, you guys are just an inspiration. And so thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for sharing the time with us. We've talked about this for a long time. And so I wanted to introduce you guys. A couple housekeeping rules. You want to be decently close to the mic so that we can hear you, because God knows nobody wants to hear me speak all the time. So just you can be mindful of that. And then secondly, what I'll do is I'll just turn over to you to introduce yourself, give us a background, and then I'd love to really get into your guys' story. You guys, if you're listening to this right now, they're wearing their Ironman shirts.
Finishers.
Yeah.
There's a theme.
Yeah, it's amazing.
There's a theme. I like it.
They did I called Laura last night, and I was just getting some background, and she's like, yeah, no problem. I got a quick couple minutes, and I got to get up early. We're doing a 5 a.m. cycling training tomorrow. And she's like, we just finished our, what was it, swimming last night?
Yeah, last night was swimming, and then this morning we went straight into a indoor bike session.
Insane, dude. Just
Indoor bike session.
Yeah, those aren't as fun as the outside ones. You're standing still.
Okay, I was going to say. Stationary.
Lots of resistance, though.
Yeah, we're going to get into why you guys do that and why that's important, and how that journey has gone. But so for the ladies and gentlemen who are listening at home, we have Laura Jimenez, we have Juan Jimenez, total power couple. So if you would just give us a kind of a brief, understanding of who you guys are and how we've met, and we'll jump right into it.
So I'm Laura. Juan and I have been married now for 5 years. We love to travel, obviously to work out, grow together, push each other, and just keep each other accountable. We had the pleasure of meeting you two, 5-6 years ago at least?
It's been a
maybe
minute.
longer. I think it might be longer.
Yeah.
I was thinking
at the Christmas party.
Christmas party a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome. We don't get to see each other often, but I think when we do, we make it count.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
love that.
Yeah, for sure. Always good energy with you guys. Always, and you talk about, keeping each other, grow together, and I that certainly is on display. But every time I'm around you guys, the energy is just infectious. So
Yeah,
it's great.
appreciate
It's
that.
great to have you. It's great.
Thanks
to have
for the invite, Brett. I appreciate it, and having us here. It's our pleasure to be here for sure. So a little bit of my background, and with Laura as well. We've been on this Ironman journey now for 2 years now. Right after COVID, we started. During COVID, there's a few trends: buy a puppy, get a bike, and go work out outside, right?
and buy a boat.
Right. Yeah. We didn't get to that point.
We didn't get that one, yeah.
So just the
we
bike.
missed out on that one.
And so we started riding bikes outside, and we got our little road bikes, and we started, we're doing our workouts outside. And after a while, we started joining clubs, like cycling clubs.
We joined the really great crew, Central Florida Cycling out in Winter Garden.
Shout out.
Group of guys and ladies. They get together, very nice family-like culture. And we started riding with them once or twice a week. And the cycling community is very welcoming once they see that you're committed and that you're going to show up.
Very cool.
Ooh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that caveat.
Once they see that you're going to show up.
Yeah. A lot, a lot of people
we'll come back
show
to
up
that
one
one.
time and from there it just kind of
Grew, yeah, and then we're riding out in Lake Nona, and yeah, we're just very active, and we continue to see the progress. We're building not just good relationships, but also our health. You know, is getting better. We're getting more conditioned. We're getting better at the bike. You know, at first when we started, we are going like 12, 13 miles an hour. We're like, oh, we're going fast. But then next thing you know, we're at like 18, 20.
Wow.
20 plus, and we're like, man, we're getting good at this.
and it's funny because we all think of cycling like we all most of us had the opportunity to grow riding our bikes outside and whatnot, but once you start getting more and more invested into the sport, you start, I used to see people wearing these funny shoes that they clip into their bikes with. I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
That's like the Peloton shoes,
Yeah.
man.
Yes,
I'm not doing that. I'm
yes.
fine with my sneakers. And of course, a couple of weeks into it, we're at Winter Garden Wheelworks,
You're like,
buying a pair
the
of
heck you
the
are.
funny shoes. Broke my elbow that day. Funny story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got caught in a storm and about 10 miles away from our cars, Juan falls. He thinks he's going to turn around and catch me laughing, but I'm still with my bike clipped into my shoes up in the air, dying. We're both dying laughing.
my
It's
goodness.
pouring rain. And, at the moment I didn't feel it. About half an hour later, I looked down at my elbow. It looks like I have a baseball growing out of it.
The cyclists out there will understand because when you first start using the clip-ons on your bike, it's a whole mental process you have to go through. And like if you don't
Right.
unclip,
Yeah.
you're just going sideways.
Right.
Yes,
And so
I've
that
heard
was our first ride clipping in.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, you kind of forget. You're just
Right.
like riding around. You're like, oh yeah, I'll just no, you're stuck onto the bike.
Wow.
So
So, I hear adventure. So, and you guys, the training regimen that you guys are doing is like, it's legit. Like you are 100% all in, and we're going to get into specific. I think you guys are going to New Zealand to ride soon, but this isn't a professional thing for you. Like you guys have day jobs. Like this is, and you guys do this together. So real quick, you're here in Orlando. What's your background as far as what you do during the day? And this is kind of like moonlight stuff. It's in the before and after your careers, right?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a 24/7. I would say that one of my favorite things about this is that it's truly changed everything. It really changes your mindset, how you look at the day. I used to wake up at 7:38, head into the office. I run a civil engineering firm. Maybe get a quick run in or hit the gym for a little bit after work. And now by 8 a.m. every morning, we've been at it for 4 hours. There's been at least 2 to 3 hours of rigorous work. I'm very hungry at this point. A couple bottles of water, and on the weekends, you normally on a Friday or Saturday night, we're in our 30s. You go out to dinner, friends, drinks. Our friends know by now, hey, if it's not a 6:30 dinner, it's not happening because
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
it's a
change.
lifestyle to do it properly, right?
Wow.
Otherwise, I think you run into a burnout situation, and then you no longer enjoy what you're doing it.
Right.
So for me, it's been more of just a full, like going all in into it, committing to it 100%. And you kind of like with anything else in life, you find friends in that circle, and then it does make it easier to do it with people that are like-minded.
Wow.
I-
Okay.
I-
That's amazing.
One of the things you guys said earlier is, you commit, the bike club they're real keen on you when they realize you're going to show up. One of the things we're big on, we believe success begins with showing up, right? It's step one, right? Step one, you got to be present. You got to show up. You got to show up properly. I think about this journey already, and I know there's more. We'll uncover a lot more, but I think to myself, you bought bikes because it was COVID. You're going to ride bikes, and you're going 12 miles an hour, and pretty soon you're like, there's more of a calling, there's more of a desire, there's more of a, we're kind of getting bitten by this bug. Talk to us about just, making that transition, right? But then the idea of you're 24/7 with it, but there's got to be days you don't feel like showing up, right? I mean, 4 o'clock every single morning, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, 365 days a year. That's not fun all the time. So how do you tie in the idea of showing up into the greater goal? And
Wow.
That's deep.
good.
There's a lot of stuff behind it, and we'll get back to maybe why we got into Ironman races
Yes.
in Ironman training. There's, a lot of people, when you ask them, why do you do certain things, they'll give you a superficial answer. But I'll disclose more of a personal background and how we got to that point. But back to, being involved and our early stages and starting out, with the biking and all that stuff, you start seeing progress. I used to be a couch potato. I stopped working out for 2 years, probably before COVID. And from that point on, I've probably lost 45 pounds to this day. You'd see pictures of me. I was chunky, big. Wow. So I was on this whole get back to health journey. Before COVID hit, we were part of Camp Gladiator. We were doing like high intensity training. And I was like on this whole like let's get fit kind of vibe, And so that's kind of been the projection, right? COVID hit, we got the bike, we joined the clubs. Then disaster hit. We were out in Lake Nona training, biking on a Peloton outside. It was probably 30 of us.
35.
We were riding. I was in the front of the Peloton. I had just, eventually you kind of take turns at the head of the Peloton because you take on all the wind.
So when you say Peloton, I think about the Peloton
stationary
that's
bike.
stationary. You're not referring to
the
that.
word, yeah. So they got that word from the official cycling term of
group of
Peloton, which is
cyclists.
a group of cyclists
Got
riding
it.
Oh, very
together.
cool.
I didn't know that.
So that's
Didn't
how
either.
that brand came about.
Got it. Makes
And
sense.
so we're out in Lake Nona riding, and I had just gone to the back of the pack, and Laura was up next at the front. And so we were riding. Next thing you know, I see this big white truck just zoom right past me, really close to our bike lane. And it was a 2-lane road. It was Narcoozy out in Lake Nona.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, it goes by the front, clips Laura on the side, and then all I see is bikes flying up in the air.
God.
And I'm seeing this, and it's just like a nightmare, like, one of those scary movies.
Right.
And I don't know what to expect when I pull up to the front. I thought she was dead. I mean, it was just a complete wreck.
Oh, my God.
It was probably 8 people on the floor. I thought I was going to see her just laying on the floor unconscious or something, worst case scenario. But thankfully, she was on the floor just kind of holding her arm and still, responsive, which was great, So that put a lot of things into perspective. And Laura went through it. And I mean, I don't know if
walk us through that. I mean, like, so you
So
did you stay conscious the whole time?
So
Like, that's
our
insane.
routine, it's one of those things where it's just another Saturdays and Sundays were our ride outside day. It's kind of like the day you get to enjoy all the work you've done all the week, right? It's social. You stop halfway. You're joking. By this point, we know pretty much everybody in this ride. Just another Sunday morning ride, right? Just like when you go out to the golf course, it's just another day out with the buddies. Mm-hmm. We are early on. I mean, we had maybe been on the bike for 25, 30 minutes. And as Juan explained, obviously I didn't see it coming. Next thing I know, I hear a loud boom and I'm flying. I'm skidding across Narcoozy Road.
God.
Very, very fortunate to be telling the story and be here with you guys because
road rash, broken clavicle.
Yeah. I took the hit. My bike actually made it out better than I did. I took the hit, broken clavicle, which at that point, nothing, you don't know anything. The adrenaline is just there. There's obviously pain everywhere, but 2 weeks with a broken clavicle because apparently they don't operate on those right on the money. In the ER, that was not fun.
Ambulance ride, the whole nine.
Yeah, ambulance ride. Call my mom and tell her
Uber.
because that's we have all these devices and stuff, and obviously it actually notifies anybody you put on your emergency list.
Wow.
So get to the hospital, ER. Thank God I was very, very fortunate to not have any brain injuries, which is very common in these type of incidents.
Had a helmet on, of course.
Yeah, my helmet was cracked. My jersey that we ride is literally ripped apart. My shoes flew off. I still actually keep the socks that I was wearing that day, kind of as a, pull them out of the drawer every once in a while and put them on just to remind myself how fortunate I am. And, fast forward 2 weeks later, I'm able to get surgery. They put 7 screws in. And as I'm sitting in the hospital bed, Juan's by my side, thank God. My mom walks in, and as many moms would do, they're obviously very concerned. And I look at her and I said, "Don't worry, I'm never riding a bike again." Little lie did I tell her.
Wow.
So I said, "Don't worry, I'm never riding a bike again." Because obviously every time we went out riding, she was worried for valid reasons. And that was it. I was
didn't
like,
think you were ever going to get back on a bike.
And
bike.
you guys hadn't done any Ironmans at this point.
No. This was
you were cycling.
Yeah, we were cycling. We had done 2 sprint triathlons out in Claremont, which very small. I mean, you finish those in about an hour and a half. If you have any kind of endurance, you can probably jump into one of those and knock it out for fun. A lot of people do. It's awesome. I encourage people to do it. It's a lot of fun. But up until that point, it was just fun riding, a lot of social rides, 40, 50-mile rides out with different clubs throughout Orlando. And it was just another Sunday ride for us. Little did we know that, I may have not made it home that day from that ride, which is obviously very, very, very scary to think back on. The guy took off, didn't have the decency to stop.
Hit and run.
I remember we spoke, we saw each other at an event or a party or whatever after your accident. You shared a lot of this with me, but I'm getting a lot of holes filled in here that I didn't quite understand.
She was on the news and everything. We were trying to find the driver of this truck. It was
never did find him.
Hit and run.
We actually did. We might need a couple episodes here. I was through a family friend by my mom. We were able to get in contact with Amy from the news station, and she sent out a news cruise almost immediately. And I have a lot to thank her for because, once the word got out on the news, obviously our friends were amazing, our group of friends, everybody sharing on social media, which is great when we can use social media for those type of things, right, for the greater good. But between social media and the news coverage that was done immediately, literally the next day after the accident, they got a tip from Lonnie, who owns New York Bagels, and he said, those license plates, I got a call from the St. Cloud Police Department about those license plates because those were mine, but that car hasn't been mine in a long time. And long story short, the guy stole the plates from his neighbor, from the trash can, threw them on that truck, hit me with it, ran through a toll. So that's how they were able to catch it with the description that Juan gave 911. Took the plates back off, thought he got away with it. Well, the police showed up to the house, and this is a white construction truck. Who keeps a white construction truck perfectly sparkling clean? He had guy in a detail trying to cover it up, but there was obviously dents on the car. I mean, he hit somebody going, I think the police report said something like 65 miles an hour. So they had me bring in my bike to the police department, measured it, of course, and measured down to the T. And
where the dents were on the vehicle.
Yeah, where the dents were in the vehicle. They measured, I had this massive cut across my back from where his side mirror hit me. They measured that, all this stuff, and obviously it all matched up.
Gosh.
They issued a warrant, but unfortunately this person is not a law-abiding citizen, so he's just out and about. He has a warrant out, I believe 3 felony counts, but nowhere to be found till this day.
Well, no, I guess let this be a plug too to, keep an eye out for cyclists. We're trying to be safe out there. Of course, stay in our bike lane as much as we can. Sometimes there's debris on there as well, but that's also a safety concern of ours.
I live in Claremont, right? I mean, I see it all the time, right? Yeah. I mean, it's what's crazy to me is I think about the road that we live off of 565. It's narrow for cars.
Yeah.
I mean, that road is narrow for. Like if you're passing traffic, it's a narrow road, let alone if you're texting and you drift off.
Texting.
But then put a bike, a row of bike. Mm-hmm. Now, verify this. Is it? I don't know this to be true, but if you're on a double yellow, a car can't pass a bike. Is that true?
Correct. They have to follow, and it doesn't matter if you're only going 20 miles an hour.
Wow, I didn't know that.
If you're on a double yellow, and there's a cyclist. 1, 2, 10, 20, and they're going, you say 20. If it was us, we'd be going 12 or 13. But if there's 100 cars behind us and on that double yellow, if they're breaking the law if they go around the bikes.
Wow, that's good to know.
I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from is people aren't willing to wait those extra couple minutes and they take off.
If that.
Yeah, and we try to go early in the morning. I mean, we're bike riding, what,
5, 6 in the morning. We're trying to beat the traffic out there, but it doesn't
Exactly.
always
Wow.
Yeah.
doesn't always work. But to turn that around, we went from that horrific scene to
How long was that recovery?
Oof, that was rough.
so I got frozen shoulder because I couldn't do PT because of all the road rash.
All the road rash. I mean, I had to
Juan
shower
had to
her.
shower me and do first aid on me daily for
It's a
quite
labor
some
of love,
time.
for sure.
I knew he loved me all along, but that
Now
one
you
really,
know.
that
Now
one
you
really
know.
reassured it.
Oh man.
Now you know. That's great.
But Juan had a goal, and I'll let him tap into that. So
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of things. So I touched on the whole getting back to health kick that I was on. A few things happened in my life, in my personal life. We lost a really good friend, Maddie P, in a car accident at a very young age. She was 28, right? So that put a lot of things into perspective, and living life to the fullest and putting it all on the table, right? Having no regrets at the end of your life, and so that was kind of like the theme going into this. And then Laura's thing happened. That was very close to home, right? That was pretty much our life at jeopardy. Like we were thinking already, like, okay, life insurance policies. What are we gonna do? Planning, your will, and like all these things come to mind. So, and then at the same time, right after Laura's accident, my favorite uncle passes away suddenly at the age of 48. And that was one of those soul crushing moments that, man, that was very impactful. And I try to cope with that a certain way, right? And I wanted to do it in a healthy way, right? And so after cycling and being exposed to the workouts and high intensity training, I found that was a good way to cope with some of my stuff. Instead of using alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, I wanted to do it in a healthy way, because I want to be there for my family. I want to be there for my kids, future kids, and my wife, and provide, right? So all that kind of took this perspective to the next level. And I always had in the back of my mind, I was like, hey, who is very fit or athletic, or what's the ultimate or the pinnacle of being considered to be in shape? And that's where Ironman was always in the back of my mind. And so I took that challenge on. I said, hey, let's sign up for this full Ironman without any training or anything. I was just like, we're going to do it.
This is after the accident.
After the accident.
How long after the accident?
It was months.
So at this point, it's just him.
Right,
I don't
'cause
want to
you're not
see a
getting on a
bike.
bike anymore.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I can't walk around Lake Eola without, needing to stop a couple times. So
Oh,
this
my
is
goodness.
just a Juan
Yeah,
mission.
so this was my pursuit, and
you
that's
signed
how,
up- you
That's
signed
how
up for one with
and
no
then I
training.
eventually dragged her into Ironman. But yeah,
But you said you signed up for one with no training.
I signed up for one. It was just like my why was,
This is my outlet.
yeah, it's and then a lot of, again, it goes back to that. A lot of people give you the superficial answer, why did I get into Ironman? Oh, I just want to be fit. I want to prove that I'm strong and all this stuff. A lot of people get into these things for different purposes, and we've met a lot of people along the journey of Ironman that have been through a lot too. All these people have so many stories. It's insane.
I bet.
But so back to that, and I dedicated my first Ironman to my uncle. I did it in his honor, and that was my motivation. That was my true why, right? I was gonna do this no matter what. The getting up at 4:20 in the morning, 4:15, the hard training sessions, the change of lifestyle, that didn't matter. I was gonna do this for my uncle.
Man, that's so
And so we got a coach, part of the Central Florida Tri Club, and I said, hey, I already signed up. He looked at me like, you're crazy, man. You really signed up already? Like, nobody really does a full Ironman their first year of training. But that was my mission. I was on a mission.
For the listeners at home, can you give us the stats of what an Ironman actually consists of?
So it's a 2.4 mile swim, usually in an ocean, a lake, a river, some open body of water per se, which that alone can be very different from one race to the other, because obviously if you're swimming downriver versus in a choppy ocean,
Wind,
very different.
Waves, right.
Then once you're done with that fun, you jump onto your bike and you cycle for 112 miles. At 12 miles an hour, how long is that going to take you?
Too long.
I'm laughing because we biked to Melbourne.
Yeah.
And that was only 72
72 miles, and we averaged 13 miles an hour. I was on a mountain bike, so
We'll come back to that.
I see potential, guys. Is what I'm hearing.
I messed up the average there. These guys are on street bikes, and I'm chugging along.
So then, and same thing there. You might be on a flat road. You might be on mountains. You might be in a windy day. It might be raining. Like there's no weather. We're gonna cancel
no weather
it.
concession.
Yeah, no.
Or wind
There's no
concession.
rain checks here. You either show up or go home. And then once you're done with all that, you just finish it off with a marathon, 26.2 miles.
Yeah.
There is a time
I was
limit.
gonna say
There's a time limit. Yep.
I could do all that stuff. It just might take me a month.
Oh, okay.
6 miles.
So
Come on down.
So you here in the States, and I believe in basically all North and South America, you have 17 hours. In Europe, I actually found this out after our race. I did not know this, but thank God I didn't need to use it. It's 16 hours there.
Wow.
The Europeans believe choppy. We got to get home.
Damn.
Yeah, so there is a cutoff, and that's for many reasons. Obviously, one of them I believe is because they have to close the roads down. So there's only so long they can do that, and for safety reasons.
So the swim 2.5 miles at a couple miles an hour.
It took me about an hour and 10 minutes.
It depends.
Laura's fast.
To do the swim? So you're swimming for an hour straight.
in the ocean.
In the ocean, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
But it really depends.
What's the speed of the swim? What's your
You
physical
do
speed?
pace. I think I did like 125, 130 meters, 100 meters per.
So
per,
break that down to somebody that doesn't have a clue. Is it 1 mile an hour, 2 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour? What would you guess?
So
I don't think it
so for
translates like
yeah,
that. No.
I mean in Cozumel, which was our first full
guess.
Ironman, I did a 58-minute swim. So in just under an hour, I swam 2-ish miles.
Okay, that answers my question. So you're
So-
talking 30 minutes a mile,
Yeah, plus or minus.
right? For somebody good.
Well, in Laura's background, she's
I used to play
collegiate
water polo.
for UCF.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
So
Yeah.
her strong suit is the swim for
No
sure.
kidding.
Like in Barcelona, she came out the water 5th in her age group.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Damn.
Did
Yeah.
you tackle anybody on the way?
In Cartagena, I did. Somebody got in the way, but it's I love to follow you guys and your culture and everything, and so much of it is just perspective. Like you can't go into it, and our coach preaches this. We're very fortunate to be coached by an amazing person. Has done over 30 Ironmans. I don't know how many half Ironmans. And he always tells us just one thing at a time, right? Like you don't jump in and say, I'm going in here to do 140.6 miles. No, I'm going for a swim. When I'm done with that, I'll worry about
And we'll lace them up.
Yeah.
You know, we'll put
Yep.
we'll
and then
we'll
I'll
clip
worry
in.
about
Yeah.
the bike, and then I'll worry about running.
So the swim an hour and a half. Then the bike 112 miles.
About 5.5, 6 hours.
Okay, and then the run is the
The run you just finish. There's no you don't get too stressed about time there. I mean, by that point, think about. I wish I remember the exact number, but there's like a very, very small percentage of people that have ever completed a marathon. Just a standalone marathon.
Yeah.
You
It's
wake
like
up, you
1%
leave your
of the
house
population has
in nice
completed a
dry
marathon.
clothes with nice dry socks and
All your toenails.
Yep, all your toenails.
no blisters.
It's it's 5 or 6 in the morning, and you get in your car and you drive over and you run 26 miles, and that alone is a huge accomplishment.
Destruction.
right?
Yeah,
I actually used to say I would never run more than like 6 miles, which is looking back is right.
now,
Jokes
right.
on me, but now tell somebody that they're gonna do that, but they've already been going at it for 6, 7, 8 hours. And granted,
You're
that's just
exhausted.
that's just the race.
Like the mental capacity of just like I don't want to jump you because go ahead. I don't want to jump you because God bless. They say when you hit the wall, I feel like you probably hit multiple walls.
Oh, yeah.
And
right?
I immediately
It's a
think
long
about
day. It's a long day.
You know, it's like when you're training or you're in some sort of Metcon and you're redlining, right? They say that your mind quits way before your body does, right?
David
It's like,
Goggins, 40%.
So, right? So you're saying, right, you know, you're exhausted, but it's like your mind tells you should be exhausted because I just swam for an hour and a half. I just biked for 6 hours. I should be tired, but my body's still, you know, is responding and will still go. So I just.
Well, let's backtrack a little bit because I think we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. Because so back when I started training for this Ironman pursuit, we kind of broke it. I got with my coach. We broke it down to a few things. Laura mentioned we had already done sprint triathlons, which are shorter distance, super fast. You're done in an hour. Then I went ahead and did an Olympic distance triathlon out in Sebring. And then by that time, Laura had already joined the Central Florida Triathlon Club, and we were kind of training.
Allegedly just to get my workouts in.
Just to get the workouts in. She was back on the bike now, which was an amazing feat. You know, I didn't think she was going to get back on that bike. And so that goes to her mental strength and overcoming some of these curveballs that life throws at you, right?
What's the thought process there? What's the
So Juan would go do these workouts with our club, and he'd mention there's a lot of nice people. I think you'd really enjoy it, and part of me was like, the first day I was like terrified of everything.
It was fear.
Even being in a car was scary, right? Wow. And then I started thinking as my I couldn't move my shoulder. I literally couldn't lift my shoulder, like my arm up. I'm sorry. Like he had to bring the shirt around my arm to bring it over my shoulders. And as my PT went on, I had an amazing physical therapist, Melissa Brown. She believed in me. She pushed me. And I said to her, you think I can start swimming? And she said, that will be good for it, right? We'll get that moving again. So that's kind of where it started out over here down the road from you guys at Lucky's Lake Swim. Mm-hmm. Started swimming there. First time we show up, I look over and Juan, I had already smoked Juan. I'm like, I'm packing business, baby. Let's go.
She's a natural. I mean, she used to be a water polo player and swim all the time.
So I started thinking, am I going to let this guy win? Right? Because he thought he got away with it. That's for him to settle with somebody else what he did. But am I going to let him win? Am I going to let him live rent-free in my mind? Or am I going to stand up and face this? So obviously at this point, we're just talking like, just get back on the bike. Mm-hmm. So I show up to one of the training rides on a Saturday morning out in Mims Trail, because I was like, definitely not on the road. Yeah. Put me on a trail where at least there's no cars, and the biggest issue is me falling off my bike. Yep. And funny story, I told him, I said, I don't want to get in the way of your training. That's not fair to you. Go on. You said that there's very nice people in the club. So I stay back with these two ladies who we still joke about this.
Of course, everybody knows the story.
No.
Well, I kind of preempt them a little bit.
But they don't know.
The coach.
I don't think they even knew I was there that morning. Like it was a low key ride because the coach wasn't there that weekend. He was out of town for a race with a group of athletes. So I don't think.
Well, I had mentioned it to a few of the people in the club and the coach for sure that you were in an accident, you're kind of coming back.
But there wasn't like a big formal introduction like, here's my wife, Laura, who's terrified of cycling. Please be careful. Right. I wanted to keep a low profile. I didn't want the victim card over my shoulder. So
classy.
No pun intended.
Yeah. The good shoulder. Yeah. So I sit back with two of the ladies who were riding at these guys took off, gone 20 plus miles an hour. And I'm like, I haven't ridden a bike now at this point in over 6 months, because now this is June of 2021. I'm sorry, June 2022. I get back on the bike and I'm just riding behind them, right? Which normally is fine if you know who's who, but they have no idea who I am. And finally, about 15, 20 minutes into this trail ride, one of the ladies, Kim, turns around and goes, "Who's back there?" I said, "Oh, hi, I'm sorry, I'm Laura, I'm Juan's wife, yeah. And I end up riding with them. They made the ride, we started chatting and talking, and it made the ride go by where the last thing on my mind was all the fears that I was kind of having to face. And that kind of ties into how us doing this with a team is so different, because it's, the accountability, the support, the motivation, the push, the trash talking, the fun. It just makes it, I think, a very different experience. I don't know that
especially as an ex-athlete, right?
I love that. Oh, I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
I live for that. Every morning is that, and I love it.
And I mean, and that was part of my journey too. I was never an athlete like that. Like I probably my freshman in high school is when I stopped playing any sports and stuff like that. I just dedicated to school and making money. Like that was my focus, right? And so that was part of my journey as well. I wanted to push my limits, see what I could do with my body, right? And really become an athlete, or at least see what I could do, right? Because that was a part of my life that I had not exploited.
That's so cool, man.
And so these long trainings started to be, I needed to be busy. With all the stuff going on in my life, I needed to be busy, figure things out, think about stuff. And so these long training rides, 2-3 hours, the long runs, you go through runner's high and all these things. And, I called my workouts more like active meditation. Right, because
I love that.
Because you're in your head and you're just, I'm thinking about different aspects of life. You're working out, but really mentally you're just like seeing life from a different perspective.
Damn, that's really good.
And it's like my drug, right? You're chasing the endorphins. You're chasing this, and I've been through some very special moments in my workouts that were majestic. You know what I mean? And it helped me out a lot. I honestly, if it was, I can say this, triathlon probably saved my life. If I could have gone a whole different route with the, everything that was going on, and coping with a healthy way really kept me on track.
Wow.
But back to our journey. So the next up was doing a half Ironman. Half Ironman is just half distance of the full. And I signed up for Augusta, right? Mm-hmm. Augusta does the half Ironman there, and at that point it was like Laura's decision, like, do you want to join on this journey or not?
Well, we were on a short run right after the bike, and the people that have been around in the sport for a while that are a part of a club are really, they're a great support, method within the club. They're great leaders. They have tons of experience, and we're on this run, and I'm asking one of the guys, Carlos, who's one of our training buddies we spend lots of hours with nowadays. I said, hey, what would be, you've done a lot of these. What's a good first race for me to, if I'm thinking about doing one of these things, what would be a good one? And he goes, Augusta. And I said, well, it's July, and that's in September. So, what would be a good one for me to train for? And he goes, Augusta. And I go, Carlos, that's in 2 months. He goes, you're ready. And I was like, okay, this guy's crazy. I mean, he's probably done too many of these cuckoo. So I go back to the drawing board. I go talk to our coach, and I go, what do you think about me doing Augusta? And he calls me. That was a text message. He calls me and he goes, are you gonna commit to this? Like, if you tell me that you want to do this, I will get you ready. But are you gonna commit to this? We don't have time for washy-washy. You're gonna show up sometimes, other times you're not. Are you gonna commit to this? I said, let's do it. So that was beginning of July, September 26th, I believe it was. We're both lining up in Augusta. We went from knowing nothing about this to, all right, we're doing this. All in. A big goal in the 70.3 races is to come in under 6 hours. That's a goal that a lot of people chase, and some are still chasing. And I told Juan, Juan's, don't worry about time. Let's just finish. Finish it. Guy comes in at like 5:20 something, and he's waiting for me at the finish line. And I always tell him that those hugs at the finish line are my favorite hugs.
That's amazing.
It's, you're sweaty, you're yucky, so you really love each other, right? Yeah. But you're just, a sense of
accomplishment.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
And Ironman does this thing is they always have a red carpet, right? Mm-hmm. I've never been to any other kind of foot race or 5K, 10K, half marathon, but they have a red carpet, and it's kind of like that Hollywood moment where you're walking on that red carpet, you're closing off a chapter to that challenge that you signed up
level,
for.
Yeah.
And it's, Hector, our coach, always tells us, when you get to that red carpet, you forget about everything. You forget that your knee hurts, that your back hurts, that you smell, that you're thirsty, that everything. And you just get this feeling that I can't even fully describe. The announcers are hyping you up. There's music playing. You have family cheering. We were very fortunate to have a couple family members drive up to Augusta to cheer us on. And, they're running around to see us as much as possible.
Wow.
And you cross that line, and it's just the most magical feeling. We have the guy Carlos, I mentioned it earlier, and Jen. They're we call them our triathlon godparents. They've kind of really taken us under their wings. They're waiting for us at the finish line. Our coach is waiting for us. Wow. You're just all hugging each other, and I get goosebumps thinking about it because it's the most magical feeling. Like, you think, 6 months ago, I couldn't ride my bike. I didn't want to ride my bike. And then a couple of weeks ago, I just said, screw it, I'm going to ride my bike. And here we are. Then we're both sitting in this grass field eating pizza and drinking a Coke that tastes like the best meal of your life because you've been eating gels and Fig Newtons for the last 6 hours. And we're looking at each other, and you're like, all right, anything is possible. Right? And that is the Ironman, they have
motto.
it on all the medals.
Yes,
they have it on their
yes.
shirts, everything. Anything is possible. Then these thoughts start running through your head. And you're like, all right, well, what's next? Right? I did this. What's next? But everything hurts, so you're like, let's not do anything.
She knew that I was already signed up for the full, right? And the idea was that she was going to join me, but to help me out, like a Sherpa. That's the term for the person that kind of helps you out and provides, support. But after this race, we had the conversations, right, as all couples do. Are you gonna do it or not? And we actually had to negotiate a few things.
Yeah.
And we talked about tattoos, and I'm not big into tattoos, and Laura's like, oh man, if I do this race, we have to get tattoos.
Well, because that's the big thing. That's the big thing is once you do the full Ironman, not the 70.3, the full Ironman, and you get that title.
You are an Ironman.
Yes, you cross that finish
announcement.
line. Exactly. You cross that finish line, and they say, Juan Jimenez, you are an Ironman. That's something that nobody can take away from you, right?
That's a small group of people.
Correct. And a big, kind of tradition is that people get a tattoo.
The Ironman tattoo.
I'm looking at it right now.
You're looking at it, so you know who won that
Yes,
negotiation.
exactly.
So we have matching tattoos right on our
sweet.
wrist.
That's amazing.
So
Let me
my
see that.
compromise it was either going to be on my butt cheek or my wrist, so I can cover it with my watch.
And I said, no, you can't hide it. Like, you got to
My
be
butt
proud of
cheek.
it.
That's awesome.
But step back there, I'm like, I don't know. I always said a marathon, that's just crazy. And I said I was going to be there to support you because you really do need as much support as possible.
Right.
We're in the studio one morning after one of these morning rides like today's, and we always joke that it's dangerous to go out to dinner, drinks, or in general just hang out with crazy-minded people, right? Crazy like-minded people, because the conversation started get going, and before you know it, there's 30 of you going to a race. And two of our teammates are, Juan's race is approaching. It's it's beginning of September at this point. Oh no, we lied. By Augusta, I already knew I was doing Cozumel. So it's beginning of September. I had already been doing, some pretty good training to get ready for Augusta. And two of our teammates, Haley and Caitlin, they're going, why aren't you doing Cozumel? And I said, what do you mean? That's a full. I'm not training for a full. I'm barely training for a half. Yeah, but you're already going. You're going to be there. Why not just do it? And I'm like, so of course that
going
sparks.
to help me out.
But of course that sparks a thought in my mind, right? So another sit-down talk with my coach. That one was a little more lengthy. And yeah, 2 months later, that was November. Wow. Something very special about that race. My accident was November 21st. That race was November 20th. And this was part of the conversation with our coach. He's a very, very, he's a very tough guy, but he's also very emotional and very he sees all sides of things. And he sat me down and he said, this is your call, but you can choose to not do this, or you can choose to, in less than a year, right? Because accident was November 21st, race was November 20th, to sit down and look back and say, a year ago, I was in the back of an ambulance, heading to a hospital, not knowing what condition I was in, not knowing what was wrong with me. I knew I was in pain, but I didn't know what was wrong with me. and look at me now crossing an Ironman finish line.
Yeah, it's very
And
powerful.
so that alone, I was like, that's it. Like, sign me up, right? Obviously, a lot more conversation went into it. But that alone was like, he was like, you have the choice, right? You choose that. You choose to step up to the challenge, because he said it's not going to be easy. Or you can settle. Obviously, like, you already did well in your first half. And we can go from there, right? And I'm competitive. I'm a little hard-headed. And I said, let's do it. So mid-November, we're heading out to Cozumel with him. He's actually done 14 or 15 of them in Cozumel. And it was an amazing week, a long day. I mean, I would say probably the longest day of my life. Yeah. But
you guys finished.
Yeah, and I think she's, you know, we're getting to kind of like the key points here where that was her why, right?
Yeah.
Powerful story. My why was I'm doing this in honor for my uncle, right? So if you're going to undertake a race or something so challenging, make sure you have a very strong why.
God, there's so many lessons in this.
Because when you're going out there, things get tough, not just in the training, but in the race itself, right? And you have something to think about or base it on. It gives you like superhuman power. And you go in there and you start thinking about that. And then the rush just kicks in, and all of a sudden you forget about your pains and you push through, right? And so that was a big part of the journey. God, and so I finished that race 11 hours and 52 minutes. And I honored my uncle.
Holy smokes.
And that was
wait.
That was
11
Hold on a
hours?
minute. We just got done talking about an hour and a half on the swim, 6 hours on the bike. That's 7 and a bit. And what does a marathon take?
Well, a regular marathon takes somebody probably 3.5, 4 hours. But remember, you just came off 112 miles on the bike.
You were 11 hours.
Yeah. I wanted to get to that finish line.
The timeline is 17?
17 is a cutoff.
God, that's impressive.
Yeah. My motivation was to get to that finish line and honor my uncle.
And you were just like...
Now just get me to that finish line.
There's so much power in just story, right? Between the ears and that push. And, I mean, the mental... the physicality of all the things you just talk about. My mind just goes to training and how difficult and pain and all that. But then when I hear you guys talk about this stuff, and I've done something not even close to that, but that's pushed me, and that just the mental challenge and the mental fortitude that's required to do something like that is just can't be understated. You know, it's just, and so when you talk about that, I feel that. I feel that in your voice. I feel that in your conviction. I feel that in your reason. It's so powerful. And I just relate it so much to everything, to all achievement. You know, doing anything that's worthwhile is very difficult.
Yeah, it takes...
And success leaves keys, right? And clues, right? And so when you look at people performing at X level, you kind of look and see what's their true motivator, not the superficial stuff that's up here. It's really what's driving the engine. And you'll see some really hard stuff.
It's incredible. So you do this unbelievable race. You hit this climax of your entire physical journey. Yes. I mean, to do it together is unbelievable, right?
Juan got to go back to the hotel, shower, get a new change of clothes, and come back and wait for me. I finished a little bit longer than him, later than him.
But it's not even about the time. Right. It's about finishing. Absolutely. It is about finishing.
You're an Ironman. You're an Ironman. It's like
but it's so that finish line in Augusta was special, right? Because for me, it meant that I overcame a massive fear. It meant that I got back up. It meant that, forget about that. It meant that I was alive, right? So I'm alive. I'm putting in this work. But then you get to that finish line in Cozumel. They have these drums playing. It's pitch black at this point. So remember, we started the day. You wake up and you're having breakfast at 3 a.m. because you need your body to process that so that when you start at that swim, you're ready to go. Wow. And now you're finishing this race. I think it's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I mean, it's late.
It's a long day.
It's a long day.
You probably don't even sleep afterwards.
Well, this is the fun part. You finish it, and right then and there, emotions are high, adrenaline's rushing. But then everything starts to die down. that shower, everything starts to hurt even more. And you're laying in bed, and it's like 4:35 in the morning. So we've only, quote unquote, been in, asleep for a few hours. And I'm tossing and turning, and I can sleep. I can sleep. And I noticed he's also tossing and turning. And I said, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "I can't sleep." I'm like,
Let's
"Me
go
neither."
for a run.
No, the pain is so much that it literally keeps you from sleeping. So your body's exhausted. Wow. You want nothing more than to sleep, but everything hurts.
Body's healing.
Everything
Body's
but my
recovering.
nose. Everything but my nose was hurting.
And the funniest part is you wake up and, we were sitting there talking over breakfast, reminiscing, telling stories. Everybody's talking about what happened during their day, because this is a fun part / not fun part about doing it together is we're getting ready to get in the water. We give each other a hug, a kiss. Love you, babe.
See you in a day.
I'll see you. Yeah. And for example, on the bike, Juan always catches me on the bike. He passes me. That was at the beginning of the bike. I didn't see him for another 6-ish hours.
It's like you have your own journey.
Yeah, you are fully on your own. And there's this saying that our coach, he repeated it several times this morning. You run your own race. Mm-hmm. You are by yourself out there. You're kind of like a warrior going into a war zone by yourself. And, on the run, depending on the layout of the course, we got to see each other a couple times. But it's literally a quick high five, love you, keep going. Mm-hmm. And I remember the last time I saw him when he was heading into the finish line, I said, next time I remember I said to him, next time I see you, you'll be an Ironman. But you're out there by yourself. You're battling for however long it takes you to get it done. And you have a lot of time to think about things. You have a lot of time for your mind to start quitting on you.
Mm-hmm. What'd you call it? Active meditation? What'd you call it?
My workouts and the actual race. Yeah, it's just active meditation.
I just hear the power of a decision. I'm going to win. Number one, I'm alive. I'm not going to let that guy win. I'm going to win. I'm going to make this decision. You talk
just
about
signing up.
Your journey of health, your pursuit of health.
Well, you committed before you were ready.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like talk about any journey that's worthwhile. If you wait until you're ready, it just never happens. Right. So it's like that's a success leaves clue. That's a clue right there. Right. The decision always comes before the effort.
You're never going to be 100% ready.
Yeah. So you do this incredible. You finish this is like probably one of the biggest highs of your entire life.
Oh, guaranteed.
Right, and then you're in you travel across the world to do this, which has got to be just so much fun. Right?
Yeah, and that's kind of our thing about it is I told Juan, I said, if we're going to do this, let's go somewhere fun.
Well, and this was supposed to be like a bucket list item, like just to do the check mark, right? Like, hey, we're Ironman, we're day one, that was it.
But it didn't stop.
Fast forward to now.
Well, but the next morning I said, Juan, that was amazing. I loved it.
I haven't slept.
I am never doing that again. Literally, that was word for word. Wow. I said, I am never doing that again.
How did you feel the same way? Or did you
know? No, I was. You guys were like, I was fine.
We did it. We're done.
Ready to hang up the cleats.
Let's hang that up on the shelf. We got our tattoos. We're done.
Yeah.
I mean, you're limping. Check. You're limping for a whole week afterwards.
Right.
Everything hurts.
The stairs are your number one enemy.
You're like, it's funny. Like, you want to laugh, watch a group of triathletes go up or downstairs
after a race.
But it didn't end there. So that was November.
We have Barcelona under our belt already, full Ironman. That was last year.
So you guys have done 2?
Yeah, Cozumel and Barcelona.
2 full Ironman, several halves. In Barcelona, she qualified for the World Championship in Nice this year.
Wow.
Come on. Yeah, she's on a tear right now. Like she's rocking.
Wow.
So we're heading to Nice, France in September.
World Championship.
Holy smokes. What a comeback story.
Yeah.
Insane.
And then we did a couple of other 70.3s. We did a Eagleman up in Cambridge, Maryland. Very nice town. The people there love it. It's like a culture thing for them. It's like the town loves it. I mean, they're like waiting for it. They're waiting for people to pour in.
It'd be like the ultimate tailgate, you know what I mean?
Oh, it's a party out there. People love it. The community has signs up. They're like, welcome Ironman athletes. Wow. That was fun. We did that with like 27 or 28 of our teammates. So our team colors are these hot pink uniforms. So we stood out like crazy.
Let's go.
Then we did in December, we did what I would say is probably one of the most special races we got to do. We're both Colombian, born and partially raised there. and we had the opportunity to go back to Colombia and race in Cartagena 70.3.
I remember seeing
blazing
your posts about
hot.
that. Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Think 4th of July and then crank on the heater.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
But it was special. My dad got to watch me race there, which made it even more special.
Wow.
And then we got to show all of our friends, you know, our culture, and took them out
I
and
remember
celebrated.
seeing all those
It was
photos. Yes.
that was like
It was a big party.
it was a big party.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
it was
that's
the end
so
of the
cool.
year. Everybody was done with their big races. Everybody had a great race. And then
Wow.
we partied for a couple of days out there, so that was a lot of fun. And it's just it's not just the racing, it's like the people we've gotten to meet, the
Community.
places we've gotten to see.
They open you, they're very open and welcoming as long as they know that you're committed, right? And come back to
100%.
that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
and-
such a good perspective. I wanted to say it's like that to me is the most value. To me, I love that because like so many times people think like, oh, the culture's great, we have a good time. It's like, yeah, but there's conditions to that. It's like A players want to play with A players. Right? You want to go through the battle with somebody else who's willing to go through the battle. And because of that,
Exactly.
now we have this bond and now we can blow it out and have fun together. But like,
right.
that's a prerequisite. It's just not the same if
Absolutely.
you're not going through the fire together, you know?
And even in the sport in general, it's one of the few, you know, from like back in my water polo days, I would never walk up to somebody at the start of a game and be like, you know, you got this, motivate. I'm not giving out motivational speeches to my opponents, right? But in Ironman, it's so different. Everybody, it's like this mutual respect that if you had it in you to sign up for this,
Yeah,
and
if
you
you're
had it
lining
in
up at
you
the start.
to get to this 3 a.m. wake up, and now we're sitting here at 5 a.m. in wetsuits, and we're about to embark in a journey, because that's what it is. It's not a race, it's a
come
journey.
on.
Yes, this is amazing.
Listen, you look over to your right and your left, and you're like, you're hugging people you don't know, you're high-fiving people you don't know, you're peeing next to people you don't know, because there is a lot of
Yes.
gross stuff about the
That's
sport.
amazing.
But it's just this like this thing that
Amazing.
you don't experience in other sports, at least the ones I've participated in, and you get to do it in this sport, because there's just this like, hey, if you have it in you to be here, I respect you, I admire you, and I hope you have a great race.
If you had the guts to lace them up, we got a lot we can talk
Exactly.
about. Oh, I love it.
And we have New Zealand coming up in six weeks.
I was
Yeah.
going to ask
Wow.
what's next.
So yeah, right
Yeah,
now
we
so-
need to do a follow-up episode
big
after New
time,
Zealand.
training mode right now.
hell yeah, let's have you guys back after that. I would love to
Sounds
get a
good.
play-by-play. So that's
Yeah.
going to be a beautiful place to race.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's
incredible.
going to be beautiful. We were talking before this about the haka. They're going to
Yes.
have the
Oh my God, I
traditional
get
start
goosebumps.
right before the race.
Yeah.
And yeah, going out there with like another 18, 20 people. So it's going to be great.
That's amazing.
That's unbelievable, man. Well, then we'll do that. Let's just commit to that right
Circle
now.
back on
We'll
that
have
one.
you guys back after the race. And man, there is so many lessons within your story,
Yes.
just about God, in anything and everything. I think about a career. I think
It
about
translates.
our journey. I think about just personal development journey.
Yeah.
It's just the process of becoming is riddled with fear. It's riddled with self-doubt. It's riddled with opportunities to commit before you're ready. It's riddled with run your own race. It's riddled with support. It's riddled with getting around people. I mean, it's just like what you just walked us through for the last 45 minutes is just, it is the process. And that's just, I got goosebumps because it's just like, there's just so much to learn from, you're taking these esoteric concepts and you're just, it's all embodied
it,
into
yeah.
the race that you guys put yourself through. It's just incredible.
And I've synthesized it to a few things, right? It comes down to a strong why. I already talked about that. Having a mentor or a coach that has been there. So we have our coach, right? Telling us what to do, what to look out for, not what to avoid, right? The discipline and the consistency. Discipline and consistency, day in and day out. You have to go and show up and put in the work. The training is where the race is won. You show up on race day, that's more of a celebration. You got to
Man.
put in the
Yeah.
work.
That's a great way to put
Very
it.
well
Right?
said. I love
the
that word
training is where the
synthesized.
race is won.
Yes.
You
And
can't,
so
you can't.
it's a number of things that come together, and you're right. It is very translatable to all aspects of life.
I love that you say synthesize. That's a perfect word.
That's-
Man,
That's what
well,
it boils down to. Yep.
I'll tell you what, if you're listening to this right now, man, I would love it if you would share this with a couple people.
Hit pause because we're coming back.
That's right. And
Part 2.
What we'll do is I'd love to hey Zoe, when we do the podcast, I would love to put you guys' Instagrams in the podcast if you're cool with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because watching their journey is so fun and their stories and what they do. So we'll put all your information in there where everybody can get in touch with you, reach out. And you guys are just an inspiration. I'm so grateful. I know we're so grateful that you would spend time with us. We finally got it done.
Yes.
We knocked
Yes,
down
love
the
it.
time.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and this is
Our
super
pleasure.
cool. So
Appreciate it.
you guys are the epitome of taking what could be ordinary and making it extraordinary. So thank you so much. You guys are amazing and inspiration. And for everybody listening at home, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.